Glad to have, always happy to have, Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler. Hey, Miss Ollie, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Robert. How are you?
A pleasure to chat with you once again.
Mayor,
Great. It's always my pleasure.
Mayor, you have narrowed the list of 19 applicants to 7. Tell us how you did that firstly.
Well, let me tell you, we did do kind of a screening interview with all 19 applicants, Erin and Robert, and we were able to choose from that list about 7 what we consider great applicants. And, of course, we did that by looking at a number of characteristics and just being able to have that face time with each of the 19 applicants.
If you could just name the 1 or 2 or 3 characteristics of those 7 that leapt out at you, what were those?
I knew you were going to ask me that, Robert. Well, I looked at experience, and that was one of the first things I did, but I also looked at a record of achievement in terms of leadership, just exactly what each of the applicants had done throughout their career as a law enforcement applicant. And, of course, most of the ones that we were able to see actually had either experience as a leader in different areas of law enforcement, because I think it's important to have someone who really has a good pulse on what's happening in most of the divisions that we have in law enforcement here in Shreveport. And, of course, those who had engaged in training to get better, and those who have had some kind of connection, very close connection with citizens in the community.
Let me ask you, Mayor, there's a few sergeants, there's a corporal on the list.
Yes.
When we talk about experience and a record of achievement in law enforcement, it would seem like those folks have a ways to go, but you found other qualities. Can you hone in on what you found in those folks?
Well, in those folks, once you have face time with people, you get to kind of see what's in the heart, and they responded to some questions that we asked that I thought really went to integrity, honesty, someone who seemed to have had a strong servant leadership kind of characteristic, and somebody who I think is committed really to serving people. And so those are some things. And, of course, we wanted to take a look at people across, the spectrum in terms of experience. Most of the ones we chose had at least 16 years of experience in law enforcement. So, that's a pretty good span, from 16 years up to 30-plus years.
If I'm sitting across your desk and I'm a sergeant and I've had 12 years, what do you ask me? What do you say to me? Erin,
pay your parking tickets.
What's your question?
Sorry, Miss Ollie, I interrupted.
to see if me as a sergeant is qualified.
Well, one of the things that I did ask them to do was to tell me why they felt they would be the best police chief for the city of Shreveport. And then I needed to hear some response based on that. And then one of the other things I asked them was, in 3 words, and I asked them to expound on those 3 words, how would your peers and supervisors describe you if they had to describe you as an individual in law enforcement? And, and some of those responses were pretty enlightening. And then, what kind of experience have you had in law enforcement as a leader or a patrol officer? And that kind of helped me to determine whether or not they'd had some real connections with citizens and how the responses were. So we had some pretty good discussion. But, when you go through 19, you get to talk to a lot of folk for many, many hours. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to look at those experiences and look at those responses and come up with 7 good applicants.
Miss Ollie, were these one-on-one interviews? Was it you and someone else interviewing these candidates? And for the second round of interviews, will it be the same way? And
yes.
What do you ask them the second time that you didn't ask the first?
Well, I don't want to ask it on the air this morning because I need them to don't have prepared answers when they walk in, Robert. But, yes, I had other people who helped me with the 19 initial interview screenings, and we'll have the same people today that will work with me on the 7 finalists. And, of course, we'll ask, the questions we know we need to ask to be able to select the best chief. And of course, I have great staff members who have really, really good vision, and I think people who know what it's like to be a servant leader.
For the second round of interviews, how long do you anticipate each interview will take, or does it depend on the candidate?
It depends on the candidate. We have to kind of script out a time, but we're looking at 30 to 45 minutes at least on each candidate. So we're going to spend a lot of time. I'm kind of booked all day today, just making sure that I can talk to folks.
Would you say that Interim Chief Crump is a front runner, has an edge?
I won't say that, Erin, because I want to hear what each of the candidates has to say, particularly the 7 finalists, because I'm going to really look at the best person for the job in our opinion, and I'll make sure that we have those people that I trust to weigh in on the decision. But at the end of the day, I get to make that call. But right now, we're not looking at any front runners. We're just looking to see who has some great responses, and then we check, all of the credentials, and we checked, records, and we'll do due diligence.
Are you looking for someone who maybe has a plan for change in the department? Is change needed?
Well, yes, I think, we can always do better, and I think you don't do better unless you look at change. And so with law enforcement around the country today having some of the things that they have been facing, some of the challenges across our nation, I just want to make sure that we have a leader who is ready to make whatever changes are necessary to ensure that, people that work in our Shreveport Police Department know that, number one, we care about them, and number two, that there are standards we expect them to live up to, and number three, we want to make sure that we listen to them and that we provide them with the appropriate tools to be able to get the job done.